A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to Super Fun Flying. And now, it's time that we get on into some more stuff relative to Nerf blasters. But we're going to take a little bit of a break from the usual and get on going with another lineup that has considerably been more short-lived than ever. I'm specifically talking about the Wild Edition from Elite 2.0. I always call it the Super line, because it's just getting ridiculous by this point. So, a 2.0 can never truly beat a 1.0. And Elite is gonna be going down in history. So, no copying off of a legend. This blaster, of course, is the Trailblazer, one of only a handful of blasters that have ever been released in the line. And it's safe to say that we've had ourselves quite a few things to recognize recent years for. We will certainly never forget about the many good things that we've had over the past 10 years. And it's safe to say that with Nerf, they kind of have their own pros and their own cons and a lot of differences that a lot of us don't like to see or just can't adjust well. But the thing is, the Trailblazer is honestly a really good blaster. So the Wild blasters are not necessarily seen to be a successor to what their own lineup is like. We've seen it before with the Flip Shot series, where they tried to introduce a gimmicky style of new blasters in a new line that would supposedly prove to be bigger because of how it had the ability to flip the barrels around. And I've gotten access over the years to all of them that have currently existed, and I can't really be sure about it, but they just didn't pan out quite well. Although I will say that even still, the Flip 16 is probably one of my personal best favorites ever, by far. Just having weird gimmicks tends to be a bit of a different approach as opposed to what the usual is like. In this case, however, it's a bit of a different take on in the same way as the Flip Shot series did, but being yet another inclusive piece of the Super line in general, the Trailblazer, as we can see right here, actually does have some relevance. But the main thing is that it's basically just a hammer shot reskin mixed with a few other parts of other blasters, like the Ultra 2 and the Alpha Strike Harpy. Why? Because, well, the profile of it is actually very similar, and even the shape is oddly similar enough to the Ultra 2, at least with this front part right here. An oversized, clunky-looking barrel of some sorts. But, of course, it's not really a solid piece of plastic with just a barrel that runs through it, not to mention a battery compartment underneath. This is basically just how they designed the blaster. They made it look almost fantasy-like what Destiny 2 basically had. And in a way, what we can get out of the other parts that I've mentioned, hammer shot, well, it's pretty obvious, especially from this back end. It's the same exact thing, and well, just to back it up, here we have ourselves the Zombie Strike Splatter. As you can see, kind of the same in a way, except that the Trailblazer does have a bit of a more refined grip, so it's molded to the point where it can fit your hand a little better. And the Splatter, a reskin of the original hammer shot, was a bit large to handle, especially for smaller sized hands. And as for the Harpy portion, well, as you can see, this is the cylinder. It can hold 8 rounds, just like the Harpy, but it also has this little piece right here on the front. So it's technically a cylinder mixed together with just a piece of plastic, in a way. It does have little indentations that can supposedly guide the dart out of the barrel forward because of how far that it is placed between the cylinder and the actual barrel end itself, where it comes out through here. It's about a few inches from what I can tell. About this much clearance there is. So it does kind of make sense that they can basically apply this sort of piece together and make this the cylinder for the interior of the blaster. Of course, part of it is shielded with this and the other part is completely left out. So it's completely asymmetrical in terms of that, but it's supposedly to make it easier to load. Although there kind of is one question here, because as you can see, look at how much, well, look how many holes can come out of there. You could probably fit 3 darts at once if you position it just right. Yeah, like this, pretty much. 1, 2, 3. You could basically fit 3 darts at once if you had 3 darts in your hand and put them all in and then just simply oscillate it to where there's 3 more empty spots. And the fact that this is completely hollow, as opposed to what we discovered from just looking at it from this side, why make that call? Either you have this part removed or put another one of these on this side. Don't do a combination of both. So, it might seem like a minor complaint, but that's just me. I seek out a lot of things. I don't really try to identify all the things that are wrong about these blasters, because let's just be real here. Hammer action blasters are a lot more common now than they used to be. And it's safe to say, many of them have gotten even better. And this is one of those. So, it just feels really satisfying to have that sort of 6-shooter feel. Oh, I did not realize that. But any way that you look at it, well, I really do love this blaster. It's got a nice color to it for the most part. Dark blue, cyan, and orange. As well as one instance of white, as you can see here with the Trailblazer placard, just to remind you exactly what blaster this is called. There's even a tactical rail on the bottom right here. I don't really know exactly what you could put under there, but I guess you can't really tell. Could be dart storage, or it could be a tactical grip or something. But to summarize, what I got to say about this blaster is the fact that, well, it actually does much better than a good bunch of other blasters I've had over the past several years. But that's not to say that all known instances of hammer shot reskins or hammer action blasters as we know about them, they're supposed to be better, but that's not always the case. So the point is that the Trailblazer, it sure did do a great job giving us a new approach on the hammer action blasters, but it doesn't show to be very significant as opposed to what hammer action blasters were 10 years ago, at least. Considering how I have myself a reskin of the hammer shot, even to this day, with the 2020 reskin trio of the hammer shot known as, well, the Splatter, the Caution, and the Checkmate, as I prefer to those reskins. Just to know the fact that reskin trios of certain blasters are a tradition that Hasbro's been doing now since that time, being that this was the first instance of this trend, and the fact that it's still going even to this day, well, that's just the whole thing about it. Hasbro has been doing a lot of things. Some are questionable, some are excusable, and some are just plain old bad. But at the same time, we have some really good pieces out there to really equalize it and to make sure that Hasbro isn't completely awful. And I'm glad to say that the Trailblazer Blaster is just the thing that we need, of all things necessary, to ensure that Nerf continues to be a good toy line. And so, that's just about it. But if you want to see more of that on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.